This movie is the cinematic equivalent of the coziness of that Campbell's Soup snowman commercial. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. As part of my coverage of the 2023 Toronto International Film Festival, today I'm going to be talking about the 2023 comedy drama, The Holdovers, which will get its wide theatrical release on November 10th. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. The Holdovers stars Paul Giamatti, Dominic Sessa, and Davine Joy Randolph, and was directed by Alexander Payne. It tells the story of a boarding school teacher who's been tasked with watching a small group of students who have nowhere else to go over Christmas break. Classifying movies has always been a thing. We classify them based on genre, based on story, based on box office and awards performance. We also classify them based on the time of year. Jaws is an ideal summer blockbuster. Halloween and other horror movies are best for October. Classifying movies is nothing new, but in recent years, one specific type of film classification has sparked more debate than the rest: whether or not a given film is a Christmas movie. Some movies are easy to classify as Christmas or holiday films. They center around holiday celebrations or various holiday traditions. Other movies are a bit harder to come to a consensus on, often being only tangentially related due to a December setting or maybe a few Christmas decorations in the background. The Holdovers is somewhere in the middle. It's set around the holidays, and a few Christmas traditions do make an appearance, but they aren't the focus. It doesn't have the holly jolly festive Yuletide cheer that can be overbearing in other films, but with its melancholic coziness, it still feels like it fits in with the season. There probably won't be all that much debate about the Christmas classification of The Holdovers, and it's bound to join people's annual holiday movie rotations in the coming years, but there's a lot more to it than just that. The Holdovers is a period film, set across the end of 1970 and the beginning of 1971. I've said it many times before, but I love period pieces set during this era. It's got the music, the hair and clothing, that shot-on-film look that's sorely missed in the era of digital filmmaking. It even kicks off with the 70s versions of the studio and production company intros, including for some companies that didn't even exist in the 70s. Sometimes when you're watching a period piece, it has that distinct feel of being a newly made movie set during another time period, but that's not the case with this film. If it wasn't for the recognizably modern actors, it wouldn't be that big of a stretch to think that this movie was actually made in the 70s. Whether it's that period setting, the holiday components, or something else entirely, there's just something that's so comforting about this film. It's kind of hard to describe the sensation or vibe that this movie gives off, but if I had to put it into words, I guess I would say winter coziness. Having grown up and lived my entire life in the Northeast, there's this indescribable aspect of winter, especially when you're younger. Now, this movie is about a teenager stuck in a boarding school, so it isn't a sledding, snowball fights, and hot chocolate kind of Christmas, but it still very much captures the feeling of Christmas break, of time off from school, before you have other responsibilities to fill that time with, of being perpetually bundled up and either too cold or too hot. I don't know, winter coziness. It's like the feeling of that classic Campbell's commercial. You're just waiting for a snowman to come in, eat a bowl of chicken noodle soup, and melt down into a little kid. The Holdovers is a film that's very satisfyingly crafted. It's a seemingly simple, small-scale story that's easy to follow, and has an almost slice-of-life quality to it. But there is a plot here, and one that's not quite as meandering as traditional slice-of-life films usually are. The story focuses on a teacher and a group of students staying at a boarding school over Christmas break, but it's not a single location movie. These characters go on mini adventures of sorts, and things are constantly happening. But this is also very much a character-driven story. The plot and various events are interesting and funny and stressful and heartbreaking and engaging, but they're all of these things because of the characters. This is a movie about them and their emotional journeys, but it's also a movie about us. There are a number of characters who factor into the story at various points, but really, there are three main, wonderfully performed characters. Paul Giamatti's acerbic teacher, Paul Hunnam, Dominic Sessa's angsty student, Angus Tully, and Davine Joy Randolph's grieving cafeteria worker, Mary Lamb. All three of these characters are damaged or broken in some way. They've experienced loss and either are or feel like outcasts. They're all lonely and sad for different reasons, and find themselves thrown together for Christmas break purely because they're alone and have nowhere else to go. Where this premise leads to is nothing surprising, as this misfit group learn about each other and themselves over the course of the film. But something that was a little pleasantly surprising was the way these characters grew. It could have been very easy to just create a comedy about these different personalities butting heads and eventually discovering their kindred spirits, but remaining static otherwise. But that's not the case here. All three of these characters change in some way, because of the events of the story, but also because of each other. They all manage to overcome something, and find the path that they need to be on to move forward with their lives. This movie works so well because it manages to capture so many different facets of life, without coming across like it's trying to teach some sort of lesson. There are, of course, lessons to be gleaned from the film, and it's certainly a thematically impactful movie, but it accomplishes all of this in a very understated way. It's a small-scale, character-driven story with big-scale heart and themes. It's a movie that'll make you feel things, taking you through the whole gamut of emotions. It's extremely funny, but also very poignant, and even melancholic at times. But it covers all of this without ever feeling emotionally manipulative or overly sentimental. Instead, it's just charming and tender. And it's a movie that makes you feel for and with the characters, because you're bound to see aspects of yourself in each of them. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one is the screenplay. I could really break the pros out into a bunch of pieces, but many of my favorite aspects of this film, the story, the characters, the humor and heart, can all be attributed to the screenplay. It takes a fairly simple plot and expands upon it tenfold emotionally. The character interactions and dialogue, the emotional journeys the three leads take, even the film's structure. It all has its basis in the poignant but witty writing. The second pro has gotta be the performances. The characters were all well crafted in the writing stage, but these actors were able to enhance what was given to them, making the characters seem like real people. Paul Hunnam felt like a bespoke role for Paul Giamatti, and in all likelihood, probably was actually written with him in mind. It plays to all of his comedic and sarcastic strengths, while also allowing him to imbue the character with his trademark pathos. Dominic Sessa also excels here, often going toe-to-toe with Giamatti. Hard to believe it's his first film role ever. And then we've got Da'Vine Joy Randolph in probably the most emotionally important role of the film. Her grief and sadness are palpable, and she's the one to maintain the film's delicate tonal balance. Speaking of which, pro number three is the tone. I really couldn't be happier with the tonal blend we got here. It's a funny film with witty lines, unexpectedly entertaining scenarios, and plenty of dry sarcasm, but it's also a poignant film. It's about loneliness and grief. It's about the heightened sadness that comes around during the holidays. It touches on some heavy and deeply moving things, but does so without ever becoming downbeat or manipulative. It's just a perfect, cozy blend that makes you feel everything, but leaves you better off than you were when you started watching. On the con side, my only issues are just very minor nitpicks. There are a few moments where the pacing drags a bit, and it does get off to a somewhat slow start. I'm not going to give anything away, but there's a pretty distinct turning point at the beginning of the second act, and I think the film improves a lot after that, because it's able to narrow its focus. The stuff that came before is still good and very entertaining, but end up feeling a bit superfluous in hindsight, making you wonder if the film could have been tightened and shortened up a little. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying The Holdovers or any of the films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give The Holdovers 4.5 out of 5 paws. It's a cozy and tender character-driven look at holiday loneliness. Seeming as though it was plucked right out of 1970, it boasts a fantastic script, great performances, a lot of dry humor, and an extra helping of poignancy. It's bound to become a new alternative Christmas movie classic, but one that can easily be enjoyed year-round. I would recommend The Holdovers to just about anybody. This is one of those films that's almost universally relatable and moving. No matter your age or your situation, you're gonna find yourself drawn to these characters and their stories. Fans of Alexander Payne will enjoy this return to form, while others will just enjoy a funny and charming movie that'll make them feel. If you liked The Holdovers, I would recommend Goodbye Mr. Chips. This is another story about a boarding school teacher and the impact that he has on the lives of his students. and that they have on his life. This film spans a 50-year teaching career, rather than just one Christmas break, but has some similar themes and covers a range of emotions. If you enjoyed Paul Giamatti's performance, then you might want to check out Sideways. This is another Alexander Payne-directed film in which Giamatti plays a writer and teacher, this time on a wine-based road trip. The story itself is quite different, but it's another funny and emotional journey. And if you want another story about seemingly disparate people finding commonality, then you should check out The Breakfast Club. Focusing on a small group of teenagers serving Saturday detention, it's a funny but touching coming-of-age story. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen The Holdovers? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite movie about a teacher? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe or add it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.